US finally admits no evidence Assad used sarin gas. I love it when I'm right. Guys, in case you're wondering, this is a follow-up that came through from, you probably remember about 12 months ago. They reportedly launched 40-something Tomahawk missiles at Syria because Assad used sarin gas. At the time, I said that I didn't believe he actually did that because it didn't make any sense. Well, apparently, yeah, everybody that said it was a conspiracy theory, were right. Secretary of Defense James Mattis stated on or about February the 2nd, 2018, the United States has, quote, no evidence that the Syrian government used the banned nerve agent sarin against its own people in an attack in 2013 and in 2017. The most recent accusations provoked a massive Tomahawk strike ordered by President Trump. That was actually pushed by his daughter. That was quite provocative in the eyes of the Russian Federation and, of course, the Syrian government. Of course it would. You're firing missiles at them. As the Durham Sarin Hanish details, I might be mispronouncing, Secretary Mattis' assertion is in direct contradiction to the White House moratorium, which was rapidly written and declassified to justify America's strike. However, the Secretary offered no specifics to the statement. He did discuss the fact that there were aid groups and other people, including NGOs and other fighters operating in the area, ISIS, that had provided evidence and reports of what happened with the sarin strike. Yeah, because they're not going to be biased at all if it's not the opposition. Their information stopped short of naming President Assad as the culprit. I don't have the evidence, Mattis said. What I'm saying is that other groups on the ground, NGOs, fighters on the ground, have said the sarin has been used, so we're looking for evidence. The reporting on this is highly suspect, though. Newsweek, Reuters, and Washington Post are three publications that have all ran pieces pointing out this contradictory matter. At the time, Fox News has nothing on its site about this matter, but Zero Hedge does. General Mad Dog Mattis is known for uncompromising approach to dealing with America's enemies. Be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet. He was outspoken critic of President Obama's Middle Eastern policy, naming Iran as the single most serious threat to stability in the region. By all accounts, the general is faithful to the idea that protecting American power abroad is a good thing. Seeing this with context, General's statement seems unusual, and the media outlets have less than favourable view of Donald Trump as the president, have been quick to jump on board of the train to point out that the General disagrees with his CO, the president. Sadly, if this is the issue that's able to gain traction, it's only going to do so as long as it serves the media's narrative that President Trump is crazy or stupid and should not be trusted with leadership of the nation. I wouldn't go that far. I'd just say he made a mistake. He made an emotional decision based on an emotional plea from his emotional daughter who had an emotional photo of dead kids. Everybody makes mistakes. No doubt this will spin as a 25th Amendment material, since the president could be in moments of possessions decide to, quote, nuke someone. I don't think it's that easy, actually. From what I've researched, it's quite hard for President Trump to launch nukes. It's important also to consider the statement that General Mattis gave is not that he is saying he disagrees with Trump's decision to launch the Tomahawk strike. He's only saying there is no evidence in his possession that confirms the Syrian government was behind these attacks. The most common theory is actually that the ISIS or the resistance or rebels or whatever you want to call them actually ended up having one of their bases blown up by the Sarin or by the Russians, and they actually had a stockpile of sarin gas in the destroyed base, and that's what came out in the atmosphere. It's a pretty good theory. I like it, actually. There were a few bases that were hit at the time. The Americans were not invited to help Assad, so their presence in Syria is an inconvenient truth. Syria cannot expel them, but they were never wanted, and even by the American people. Involvement in yet another Middle Eastern nation is not high on things I want my country to do list for most Americans. The loser in the situation is the United States because of the mishandling of this conflict. While most of the conflict and the American action is taking place during the Obama's era, it's probably the case that if the USA simply gathered all its troops and equipment and retreated to Israel or the Mediterranean Sea or just plain left, the result may be a great deal worse for the Russian and Syrian nation forces already there. Yeah, and that's the problem that I see too. We can't leave, or the US can't leave, because at the end of the day, they've made this mess. And they have to stick it out. It's the same with Iraq. It sucks, but I can see why the US is still there. The problem here is there may well be a serious intelligence breach or failure that created or allowed the decision to launch the Tomahawk strike. Russia today also ran the matters piece because it does suit the Russian narrative that there's no way Assad would gas his own people, which I actually tend to agree with. Indeed, it does not make rational sense to a Westerner. However, dictators remain in power when his country is a war zone and is watched by the world powers. To do mass killings of one's own citizens under such a watchful eye seems highly absurd, of course, for any leader to take. And that's my argument. He literally got the rest of the world almost involved in this because he, quote, decided to use the gas. He was winning a war, he was defeating ISIS, and then decides to make his job harder by getting the UN involved. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, the further problem is the reality of conditions on the ground. As this report points out, the Americans may have a situation where foolish decisions by previous administrators, and maybe even this one, have created a situation they cannot leave, and I totally agree. So guys, at the end of the day, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, like they say, basically there's no proof that he actually launched the sarin gas. They still have no proof, and they basically seem to have taken blind faith on a few reports from people that might or might not be ISIS fighters. I don't know, this whole thing seems a little suspect to me. There's a common theory around where it seems to be like the deep state want another war, and maybe they're trying to encourage that. It's possible, I suppose, but I don't know, guys. Look, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think Trump did this because he was misled? Do you think that Assad actually launched these chemicals and they just don't have proof? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.